If you are a fan of deep narrative-driven RPGs with rich lore and well-written characters, it's highly likely that Obsidian Entertainment is one of your favorite game developers. The remaining 10% is probably reserved for Bethesda Softworks, despite repeatedly disappointing you. They have broken your heart, time and time again. You can't forget her because she was your first love in high school. They are akin to a pop rock song you can't bring yourself to delete from your device. You may dislike the chorus, but it's reminiscent of good times. Anyways, moving on. Avowed initially appeared to be a Skyrim-lite, as indicated in the first teaser. However, it seems to have evolved into something more unique, accompanied by a noticeable shift in art style. Nevertheless, people don't forget past achievements and failures. Most fans will likely overlook the change in direction as long as the game retains the trademark Obsidian feel. After all, we're talking about the legendary Obsidian Entertainment, renowned for masterpieces such as Fallout New Vegas, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Pillars of Eternity. Given their track record, there's genuine excitement among those who grew up playing and loving these games. Yet, the question remains, can Avowed meet the expectations and emerge as the next big RPG? Quick note, if you love single-player RPGs, consider subscribing to the channel as I regularly discuss them. Avowed is set in Eora, I hope I said that right, the same world as the Pillars of Eternity games, but in a brand new region called the Living Lands. I'm really excited to explore this new area and to cover all the new stories and characters waiting for us there. If you've played the Pillars games, you'll recognize the rich lore and world building of this setting. But if you haven't, don't worry. Since it's a whole new region, you don't need prior knowledge to dive in and enjoy it. It has been revealed that we will be an envoy of the Adir Empire, sent to investigate an unknown plague spreading through the Living Lands. It's going to feel like we're playing detectives. And for those who aren't familiar with the lore, the Adir Empire is currently the biggest and most powerful force in this part of the world, with colonies all over the place. If you're keen to watch some cool lore videos, just let me know. Obsidian is known for creating intricate worlds, rich lore, and meaningful player choices. Their games are like a symphony, where every little motif or melody has their own meaningful place in the composition instead of being just filler notes. And all the melody comes together to create a grand epilogue that you observe in awe. If the development of Avowed follows the same path that earned them this esteemed reputation, it will surely benefit from it. Otherwise, it might end up like another Outer Worlds, which, to be honest, was quite dull. I didn't really like it. Hopefully this time they will return to what worked best for them. There's no better setting to do that than Eora, as we saw in the Pillars games. The politics, the characters, the gods made us take decisions that had real impact on the world. The world felt lively. Whenever you visited a new town, you immediately got the cultural identity, the ideology of that town. Every tavern had a story. The characters had their backstory, which were mostly sad. Although transporting them from an isometric RPG to a 3D game is a huge task, we have seen that they have done a decent job at doing so. A 3D game will also have a larger audience than an isometric title. So we will have to see if they stick to the complex lore of the universe, or water it down to appeal to a mass audience. Honestly, if they water it down, it will be a horrible decision. People play Obsidian games for their world design, the complex characters, and the morally gray areas of life. Avowed will lose its charm and the chance at being a genre-defining title if they go this route. I think Avowed, to become the next big RPG, it needs to very strictly focus on being a story-driven game. It should have a good narrative, player agency, well-developed characters, well-acted NPCs, and meaningful side quests that impact the overall plot. The game should avoid having shallow characters, pointless side quests, or poorly developed MCU dialogues. I have not mentioned the main plot. It goes without saying that it needs to be the driving force of the game. I'm not asking for an original story that has never been written before. That's probably not possible. There's only 70 or so original ideas, and everything else is just a variation, right? But you can put your own spin on it. The main quest has to avoid typical open-world action RPG story tropes and come up with something unique, something that we as players get immersed in. Has to brew that perfect potion of being relatable while being fantasy at the same time. The player has to feel his importance and importance of his actions. This setting demands a strong world building and meaningful character development. If we look at the Pillars games, every companion had a meaningful story that made players emotionally invested. I won't go into too much detail to avoid spoilers, but the companion stories made players emotionally connect with the game. I believe that a well-written game is the only way Avowed can succeed, and it's also in Obsidian Entertainment's wheelhouse. Because, let's be honest here, most of us don't play their games for innovative gameplay mechanics. There are developers who rely on new technology as a substitute for a poorly written plot or characters, but I personally prefer Obsidian's approach. I spend time and invest my days in Obsidian games for this very reason. While I might pick up a new flashy video game because it has cool new mechanics, I'll also put it down faster than I can recite the alphabet. I'm looking for games that I can really immerse myself in, similar to the old Obsidian titles. I believe that their games don't necessarily need cutting-edge mechanics to be good, as long as they are not full of bugs. It's 2024, so a well-balanced game is crucial. People won't tolerate a bug fest, even though a lot of games have them now and are constantly needing to be updated. The gameplay mechanics should serve their purpose without feeling like a chore. Speaking of gameplay mechanics, the game mostly uses a first-person perspective, but also offers a third-person option. Character creation, one of the most important features of an RPG, will come with a variety of options for defining your character. However, the player always takes on the role of an Adirian envoy. Or Adiran envoy? Personally, I don't mind this as long as it allows me to explore my character further after the initial stages. Some players prefer creating a completely blank canvas character in RPGs, and that's understandable. I believe you don't always need to start completely blank, as long as you have the freedom to expand and define your character through your beliefs and choices. We will be able to choose our background, personality, appearance, and philosophy. More choices are always welcome, as it's important for everyone to play as the person they want to be, and this is what separates great RPGs from other games. The companions will have an interesting role to play in the game, if the Pillars of Eternity games are anything to go by. Each companion had distinct personalities, battle specialties, and intriguing backstories to discover. The player will only have 2 partners with them at once, which is understandable. It seems that conversations with companions during quest-based encounters can steer them in a specific direction and affect the resolution of their personal missions and story arc. There will be no romance options in the game, and I welcome this decision. I don't want to play a dating sim. And the way they are implemented in most games nowadays is always weird and forced, especially Dragon Age. They never fit well, and they are mostly cringeworthy. Don't get me started on cringy love-making animations in some games. Ugh. I think we will do fine as a society with no romances in role-playing games every single time. It would be different if they were implemented correctly, but they are not always. For now, let's roleplay as good friends to your companions. I don't think Avowed's status as a good RPG will be dependent on this feature alone. Do you think games need romances to be good? Let me know. The player will pick up new quests when new regions become available as the narrative progresses. Although the player can go back to earlier locations, thank God, regions are unlocked in a predetermined order as the narrative progresses. Every region is a part of the greater puzzle, with its own set of regional issues that have a wider bearing on the greater narrative of the living lands. Players will be able to explore a number of open, connected zones at their own leisure. One thing I love about this is that they have made the world map smaller. I don't have anything against big open worlds, but not every game needs them. Having a huge map would have harmed the idea of Avowed being a narrative-driven RPG. Like I said, Obsidian is known for their stories. So imagine this, instead of following the story and investigating this great amnesia plague that's destroying the world, you are running in circles, picking flowers. I know human curiosity, and I know myself, if I can see a mountain in the far horizon, I'm going to go there. I don't care if the world is in danger. I need to see what's over there. and it completely removes the emergency of the story.
Oh, you have an interesting backstory and I'm going to help you. But first, let me spend 5 in-game days to go to that cave way over yonder that has a legendary chest in it and 3 gold. I may come back. If I don't come back quick enough, just wait longer.
The whole point of having a great story goes out the window. If you aren't focused enough to follow it, by having a smaller world, it ensures that every corner is wrapped up in the narrative. Every grass in every field, every NPC in every part of the world is affected. Everywhere you go, you actually see the impact. Having a smaller world can make it way easier to implement as well. It also lets the developers create a meaningful, handcrafted world with its own unique identity. Eora, with its many problems, is still a beautiful world, and it deserves to be crafted with love and seriousness. I do love the wide variety of weapons available in the game, such as firearms, crossbows, bows, arrows, wands, scepters, grimoires, grenades. Players can use two-handed axes, dual pistols, dual wands, or combinations like a wand and shield, a sword and shield, switch between them quickly with 2 different loadouts. Each weapon has different speeds and offers various actions such as regular and power attacks, stuns, parries, blocks, weapon shared modes. Avowed's combat focuses on real-time action, combining skills, spells in both melee and ranged weaponry. Every enemy has its own strengths and weaknesses, requiring different tactics for each. I particularly appreciate the variety of weapons as it enhances replay value and allows for role-playing with a different character build each time. This is essential, as it encourages playthroughs with different character builds and role-playing goals. Limited weapon choices can significantly impact the replayability. Unless it's Skyrim, then you can replay the game as a stealth archer for the millionth time. I love creating different characters and role-playing as them. Playing a fighter, for example, and using a bow does not make sense to me from an RPG's perspective. I have high hopes for Avowed. After looking at the concept art and listening to recent developer interviews, it seems like the game is heading to the right direction and is establishing its own identity within the RPG genre. As a dedicated fan, I hope that Avowed can reach the same level of success as New Vegas, while still being accessible to casual fans. I have nothing against it, as they need a return of investment. If this title fails commercially, we may never see a game in this universe again. This is the Pillars of Eternity 3 we have always wanted. I understand the importance of commercial success for other games and their longevity, of course, and I believe that a balance should be struck between financial success and staying true to its RPG roots. It is also important to let your core fans know that their voices matter. They are the ones who will play the game on day one and probably play it 1,000,000 times. These people are important. Their opinions are important. Respecting the source material is important. Maintaining this balance is crucial for Avowed to become a significant player in the RPG genre. I hope that the developers can learn from the Pillars of Eternity series, which, despite being excellent RPGs, didn't manage to expand beyond their niche and suffered commercially as a result. Avowed presents Obsidian with a second great chance. While I understand that not all fan-favorite features from Pillars of Eternity will be present in Avowed, I believe that as long as the game remains true to its source material and respects its origins, it has the potential to be a great game. Maintaining this crucial balance between pleasing the core fanbase and achieving commercial success will be a key to Avowed's future as a successful RPG title. Taking New Vegas as an example, it's not the perfect game, but we love it because of the way it showed us the world of Fallout. It knew what it wanted to be, its purpose in the world, and how a Fallout game set in New Vegas should act and behave. It represented the vision of Fallout that we as fans of the universe always wanted to see. That's why it is regarded as one of the best Fallout games by many, if not the best. You can say the same thing for KOTOR 2 and Pillars games, but you can't say the same about Outer Worlds. It was boring, lacked a clear vision, and did not know what it was. While it's too soon to tell if Avowed will be the next major role-playing game, you can get an idea by looking at how developers talk and the videos they release in the days leading up to the big release. With Obsidian games, you are always guaranteed a 7 out of 10 experience at least, and Avowed does look like it will be a landmark title. After Baldur's Gate 3, every RPG will feel like the bare minimum, But we can't stop listening to music just because Mozart had stopped composing. Well, he died. There's new music that is very good, even if every element of the song is not perfect. The vocal harmonies might not be good, but the guitar solo is just well written. Sometimes you just need that one aspect to be good, to be a good hit. If Obsidian has written a deep narrative game with rich characters, story, and world building, it will be a lightning in a bottle in this day and age when stories have taken a back seat even in action-adventure games. Fans of RPGs always appreciate a good story-driven game with player agency, which will result in Avowed being the next big RPG. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button as it helps a lot. Check out my other videos, and see you soon.